And we're live. Welcome everyone to another session of Werewolf the Dark Ages, and we're gonna pick up right where we left last time. And I'm gonna start it off with Phil's character with Red Claw, and where she was left last time. You were on your way to meet the elders of your sept, who reside on the island there in the middle of the lake, and that's where basically you had arrived at that point. You heard ominous thunder kind of coming in the horizon behind you as you arrived there. And when you, carrying, of course, the little noose of the crimson red monk cloaks and all the bones that they contained, and once you've arrived to the lake, it will have feeling. The lake will feel a bit different than before. You've for a while now, ever since coming back from being a prisoner of war and the whole war campaign with the Red Talons, having the lake having had the wound inside it that it had that you guys cleared and healed it from. The lake has in the past been this kind of a threatening little thing where you've crossed it many times, but it's always felt like something's slithering beneath you. Something is just waiting to grab you by the ankle and yank you down, or something like bad feeling every time, kind of crossing it. And now that it's all done, like yesterday, at this point, it was like yesterday that you guys dived into the soul of the lake, and you cast the bane out of its innards and fought it to death. Now swimming across the lake feels like there's more buoyancy and vitality and maybe more oxygen or something in the water. Not outright clear, but it feels much more like this kind of healing water. It feels the same sort of sensation that the fungi realm felt like when you guys went there, where it feels like this emits like positive energy on some level. But yeah, as you're swimming across it, already as you're swimming, you see the island in front of you, and you can already make out that on the edge of the island, where there's all the burial sites of the people, of the other werewolves who fell during the Red Talon War, there's a familiar wolf sitting there in front of a very familiar grave. There's you can see that Red Bitch is sitting there with her back basically toward your direction at this point, and who's sitting and clearly like in deep thought and such, in front of the grave of Pale Dread, your former pack leader who fell in that war. And that's basically what you see when you start to arrive to the island. She hasn't uh, paid any mind to your presence as of yet.
Well, seeing her in that state, um, Red Claw will leave her to her thoughts as she has her own business to attend to, and it's in her mind extremely urgent. So she'll continue past, but when she gets up to her, there'll be this moment where she'll slow down and just kind of look at her as she's moving, probably as to like try to not disturb her thoughts, and probably like a silent nod to be given, one that she won't even notice, and then run off.
As you pass by her, she kind of like she looks like she's been in deep thought and that kind of thing. But when you start to approach, you can see her ears popping up, and she kind of turns her head at the point when you were about to do the silent nod type of thing, and she looks at you, and she kind of has this a bit of a somber, but still this kind of a smile of seeing someone friendly, come close. And she looks at you and says, "What's up?"
Uh, mm, well, Things aren't going too well at the moment. Somebody had witnessed one thing in mid-transformation. I have to tell the elders of it. Also, well, it's a long story. I cannot stay too long to discuss it. I have to talk to the elders at once.
Wait, I'll come with you. And she kind of spurs off. She kind of walks beside you as you're walking up the edge because it's like a very high edges and then it goes steep like a coliseum type of, you know, pit. And as you're walking up there, she's looking towards you and asking, well, what came of it?
Well, one of the village girls had seen him somehow. I'm not sure of those details, but she witnessed him. And, well, you know what happens when one witnesses our form. She was deep in the old fear. I was going to put her down myself, but One Fang intervened and did so himself, running off with her into the woods. And then afterwards, well, in his grief and rage, he accidentally ran off into Red Talon territory. I had to go after him. I had to bring him back, and I did.
Wait, what? What, you guys went to the Red Talon territory?
He went off there in his blind rage and his grief, and I had to go after him immediately. I didn't want to leave him out there. So we did. I got him back.
Oh, shit. It's, well, did anybody see you?
Yes, one did.
Oh. Is One Fang okay then? Is everything...
I got him back. He is fine. But I need to tell the elders of what has transpired.
Wait. I don't think Steel Cave is here at the moment. I think he's in, I don't know which realm actually, but he's somewhere deep in the Umbra. But at this moment in the Penumbra, Dusklight, Oxspear, and Good Death are in the middle of practice. So could you elaborate before we go and interrupt them? Because if it's as bad as it might be, it's I was just thinking that it may be better to I don't know, handle it indirectly or something of that sort. I think.
No, I cannot handle it indirectly. I have to tell them. Even though Wen Fang was he wasn't in his right mind when he left. He was in grief. This is the first time something like this has happened, and he didn't know how to deal with it. I was trying to explain it to him, but he was gone before I knew it. I had to track him down. Before I knew it, he was already deep in Red Talon territory. And then somehow, in his grief, he was guided by the spirits, and all the way to a corpse. And then she holds up this the red robe. This suddenly came to his mind, and he went to it. And it was in the Red Talon territory. While we were there, we saw one, but it stared at us from a distance, and finally left.
Well, I was just thinking that Good Death of all people is the only elder who seems to be present at the moment, and he's sparring with our pack leader. If we kind of go and explain all of this, it could really have some bad repercussions. I was thinking maybe we should consider this an internal affair, perhaps, and investigate it on our own before we go and get everything vetoed by Good Death of all people. You know how you remember what he said in the last set mood when the mammoth came, when the subject of peace treaties and all that came up. He was kind of volatile about red talons and having anything to do with them. So going to their territory might have some really rough repercussions. Even if the red talons don't act on it or anything of that sort, he might reprimanding might be a mild word to use what Good Death might have in mind after that.
She kind of stops and give her a hard stare, and then she walks up to her and says, "And that is fine. I will bear that responsibility. My actions were a part of this."
Well, if you go to him while he's training our pack leader, it will the responsibility won't fall on you. It will fall on Oxspear because he's responsible for his entire pack. So, uh, if 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 Oxspear loses the possibility of becoming going into the position he's being groomed at the moment, it could have really bad repercussions to our pack and the
Oh,
whole affair.
and when she mentions that, like there is a moment in her mind, a sly, almost human moment, where she's like, if I interrupt, I could secure my own position. Suddenly, these weird internal political thoughts begin rolling in her mind, and she begins to quickly like suppress and fight that very human, that ape-like urge to be conniving. Ugh! And so she'll push that off, and she'll kind of have a little head shake, and she'll look at Red Bitch and go, I suppose you're right. How do you think we should handle this?
Well, being a ragabash, I tend to like to ask for forgiveness rather than ask for permission when it comes to any situation. It's if if One Fang was spotted in mid transformation and you dealt with the witness to that, that's a completely internal affair. It's something that where did it happen in Wildmark?
Yes,
Yeah, well, it
it was.
happened in our territory, so it's on us. It's the Screaming Eagles and the Bullheads have their own problems. The Elders have their own problems. We have our own problems, and that are internal affairs, such as whatever happens in the town. But going to the Red Talon territory, that's something that unless it has to come up, we really shouldn't bring it up because I I don't know if I'm over exaggerating, but the Good Death has a certain tendency to overreact to things in the sense that I don't want him. I have a scenario of a preemptive strike in my head regarding him and regarding the Red Talons because this peace treaty doesn't even exist. It's something he completely denies. Only thing that's keeping Red Talons from getting annihilated by our entire sept again is that they keep to themselves and they don't show their faces anywhere near us. But if one did, and they had the wits and the smarts to not act on that, so as to provoke Good Death's tendencies to be very impulsive and emotional when it comes to Red Talons and war, uh, I'm just thinking that maybe I get the feeling that there's been a lot of stuff that's been going down yesterday. We haven't been that much in contact throughout the entire day, but if stuff like this has gone down, I think we should kind of come together and have some sort of a meet or something where does Dusklight or Oxspear know anything about this?
No. No, this all happened at night. It was last night that it happened. Uh, It was supposed to be just a meetup with his kinfolk family, and it turned into all this. I already dealt with the body, though. I made sure that it looked like an accident.
Well, good. Good then. If there's no if there's no more strings attached, then we could easily just bury this and hope for the best. For Gaia's sake, it's how about we? Where's One Fang and where's Curious Mind for that matter at this point?
And they're in Wildmark at the moment.
Perhaps we could have a meet up there if you and I would go there or something of the sort. I don't. I'd very much like to get on top of the situation as well and offer my 2 cents or whatever. It's
Of course, your thoughts are always welcomed. Come on. And she runs off.
she comes with you, and as you kind of pass as you pass the grave of Pale Dread that she was earlier sitting by, she kind of turns her head and kind of lowers it with a sigh and kind of shaking her head and is times like these I tend to miss the old days when Pale Dread was still in charge.
I do as well. I will honor his wish at some point. You can mark my words on that.
Which
And then with that, she'll look back, and her eyes will be focused like deep in the woods, and towards Oxspear being groomed as a pack leader.
she'll kind of turn to you and say, "Which wish is that?"
To be pack leader someday. He
Did
did not wish for Oxspear to be pack leader. He wanted me.
I've
But then
never
I
heard
was
of.
captured.
Well, war was war was kind of hell when it went down. I have no idea, and I don't mean to expect to have any idea what sort of hellscape you went through with your experiences, but it was utter carnage back here, and well, Oxpear being a warrior, it was easy to forget about diplomatic intellect or any other ability regarding to any other qualities of leadership besides pure strength. So it was kind of a desperation move at that time to, of course, back him to be the leader when it went down because it
I
wasn't.
understand. But don't worry. At some point I will challenge him for a position. But not now. We're not strong enough yet. When our numbers are replenished, then I will challenge him in honorable combat. And then she looks back, and there is a fire burning in her eyes. And as she does, it's like it's got like the storm clouds in the distance, and a little bit of the thunder rolling off, and you got her staring backwards into the deep, deep part of the woods. And she goes, "I will reclaim that position, but only on my terms, only under honorable circumstances."
It's well, it's a good thing that you got yourself focused on that stuff. But are you even though Oxpear is kind of the way he is, are you how are you doing? I just because it's been a while since you and I have kind of sat down or anything. I was just wondering how you've been handling yourself these days.
Quite well, at least for the most part. I. She begins looking around. I am still a bit tense from what had transpired. I wish he didn't react so emotionally then. Now he may have cost us something great. And then suddenly he became guided by the spirits, so now I don't even know what to make of his actions anymore. It all blends together in some strange emotional need. It's too much like being a human. And she's saying this while in lupus form, like she's just facing down, looking at like the surface of the lake and stuff, just seeing her own reflection.
I was just thinking because you mentioned crossing the border to the Red Talon territory and seeing one of them there. I was just
Oh, to make no mistake, I had transformed into my Krynos form so I can pretend and prepare myself for combat. But the weirdest thing is that instead of meeting me and such, it just turned around and left.
well,
It was disappointing and yet satisfying at the same time.
it's not a war that we're in right now, so that's a good thing. But that's exactly what I was kind of aiming for. That if I'm kind of honestly, I'm a bit concerned that if you're eager when it comes to the Red Talons, if if you really would want to go to good death to explain this, or if you're eager to kind of get back at the Red Talons for what's transpired. And
To get back at the Red
I don't mean to.
Talons? And she gets like right up close to her, but not intimidating, and she goes, "The ones that I have a problem with, they're long dead now." And she looks down at the bottom of the lake. They have corpses littering the ground beneath us. No, they're already dealt with. I don't like them, but I wish no further to disobey our elders' wishes and to promote more war. What's done is done. I have my own battles to face now, as I'm sure some of them do. I have to try to move on. That's at least what Ida Drake would say. And then she looks around and notices that Ida Drake isn't there, and she's like, her eyes kind of widen. Oh, I can't believe I left him there. Damn it.
Yes, I just want to say, because I don't mean this to sound at all like it may come off as, but when you're not around and people bring up the subject of your well-being, it's and especially your aspirations, because it's clear everybody can see your feelings towards Oxpear and the position of leadership and everything having to do with that. It's whenever people tend to talk about that, the your mental well-being when it comes to the experiences with the Red Talons often tends to come up. And I don't know when you kind of arrive on the scene and tell about how you've been on their territory and met one of them, and then want to go to good death about it. It's I don't mean to sound like it might, but it's concerning.
I wasn't thinking about Good Death's position at the time when I did this, when I was going to do this. Uh, I just wanted to let any of the elders know this could have huge repercussions, and I didn't want to be responsible for any of that. I didn't want another war to start. I figured the responsible thing would be to tell the elders, but I I had forgotten how Good Death can react.
Hmm. Well, that's good to know, because as much as Oxpear has his bad sides, he also has a lots of good sides that just don't seem to come up that much these days. It's when I think back to the times when Pale Dread was the leader of our pack, and I remember Oxpear back then. He was always a meathead. You can remember that. He was never the anything close to being like the sharpest among us, or but he always had his convictions and his like straightforward kind of tunnel vision when it comes to the task at hand. So I, I, there's no way when you were gone, when you were missing, and everyone was convinced that you had fallen in the battle just somewhere beyond the enemy lines where we couldn't find your body. I don't think Oxfear expresses in any way, or at least attempts to express, the kind of hardship he was going through at the time. When you were missing, and he had just been given the position of being the pack's leader, yeah, no idea how long hours he spent every night and day here by Pale Dread's grave, regarding it as a double grave at that time. And well, he allowed his daughter to be married to the guy who found you. That's kind of a, I guess, his the height of his expressing his emotions. But I don't know, the last year or so, as he's held that position, he's become kind of a master of compensation, of trying to put on this kind of act of kind uh, this kind of a hardness of a tough leader, of somebody who doesn't get emotional or doesn't show any weakness or any of that sort. And I think it's kind of a uh, something that's come up through all this experience stuff. And I just when I think about when everybody talks about the possibilities of, oh well, one day you might challenge him and all that, it's I can't help but feel bad for him in those times, and at the same time consider your mental well-being as well. So I just felt like there's never really a good time to bring this stuff up, and I just figured since he's not around at this point, and it's kind of just the two of us, I figured I'd want to air this stuff.
I was pretty sure he had abandoned me back there on that field. When those Krinos came upon us, when those red talons, a band came upon us with great number, I slew as many as I could. Some of them were going to kill him, and I slew them in turn. I even ripped off one of their heads and was going to use it to bludgeon their friends with. But then he turned tail and ran, and then I was assaulted. Later, when I came back, I confronted him with this. And he had said he had went back so that he could alert the others. But in my mind, we had already given out the warning, Hal. We had already alerted them. But yet, perhaps I was wrong. I'm not so meat-headed that I wouldn't question my own reasoning then. I'm not stupid. But still, the thought lingered and burnt. It's the only thing I could remember when I was in that damn pit. However, we're past that now, and he is pack leader. And I will accept his position. I will give him the chance to prove himself. If he does prove to be a good leader, then so be it. Perhaps Gaia has chosen another path for me. Perhaps the ancestors have another destiny for me.
Who knows? Just as long as I was. Stuff never gets easy.
No, it does not. But that's when you just get tougher. Like the oak.
That's right. Oh well. Let's go get to the others.
Mm. And she bolts off with great speed and vigor to show that she has not lost her resolve.
That's right. And Red Bitch follows you uh, right behind you, and the two of you swim across the lake and take off running through the woods in your lupus form. Meanwhile, back in the house, there's Curious Mind has been in the house by herself, and at this point, it's been it was after was it did the group of you it was the I just have to recall it was once Red Claw and One Fang had left, you were left there with Agnes, and Agnes left to the family house, leaving you there, and One Fang came back and he went straight to the town. He didn't come to you first, and Red Claw hadn't returned to the town yet, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, we spent time in the house discussing stuff. One thing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
left.
you
I left Curious Mind. I asked her to stay again. Poor guy. when they found the girl's body, and I had left into the woods to kind of meet up with that group, so they thought that I was part of the search party.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So that hat trick worked on me as well. So I also thought that you came from the woods straight up.
I
Okay.
met East Healthy.
Okay, that's good to remember. That's
So yeah, Curious Mind dropped herself on the bed and is trying to get some rest.
okay. As you're kind of lying there on the bed there.
Well, she's probably tossing and turning and like trying to, legs up and against the wall and walking,
Yeah,
getting out of bed and walking to the window, looking out of the window, getting back in bed, and when she's probably at the second or third time when she's at the window, she I don't know if she can see it from here, but if she does see the church, she'll be can she see it from here?
No, sorry, it's too far, and there's the forest on the way. The only building you can see from there is the Algren family house, and that's also kind of on the edge of the town. So from there, it would still be kind of hard to see the church itself. So it's kind of in the distance.
Is there anything reflective on the benches here, the desks or something?
Well, at this time in history, mirrors and glass they aren't that they aren't common, especially in like villagers and that sort of thing. So I think the most reflective surface that you would have would be either from water or from a knife or something, but that would have to be like really shiny, I guess. Um,
Well,
so
then she'll probably use a bowl of water or something that's there, scoop it out and look into it, and open a portal to the Umbra.
Okay. Well, as you've been tossing and turning and getting kind of restless, you've kind of spent time there, and it's like I mentioned before, it's the entire day of yesterday that you went to the inside of the lake and you went into the Fangaya realm and all this stuff, and then not getting to sleep at night, although you had that little bit of sleep that could have lasted only for like a couple of minutes, so you have no idea how long it lasted really. But there's lots of fatigue that's going on at this point. So yeah, as you're tossing and turning, it's very alien to sleep on a bed kind of thing. So it's kind of like as you're tossing and turning, and it's kind of a you can't, like, even though you're tired, you can't catch sleep, and later on when you get more like restless, that's when you go and look for the water there. And as you look into the water, it's easy enough to see your own reflection, and you get to step sideways if you wish.
I do.
All right. As you are inside the house, it's a bit of a dramatic thing to see for the first time, since you haven't seen the town in the Penumbra before. As you go through the portal, it doesn't seem as organic as before. It feels almost like instead of this flowing fluid-like thing that you're going through, it feels almost like it's this texture that's made out of, metal, very, very small metal rods all against one another that, like, press, as you press against it, they kind of, give in, but it feels like this kind of cold, kind of this kind of like pressing your face to make a mold on a metal surface or something. It feels very odd and very like unnatural, and something that you haven't felt before. And it's kind of it can be a little bit alarming. But then again, what could it possibly be that's worth worrying over or anything of that sort? There's nothing that dramatic here, especially in the physical world with kinfolks and everybody living here. But as you pass through, you immediately feel these cold, like ice cold, thin streams across your face and body. As you kind of push through it, you feel like there's these strings, like if you can imagine, like trap strings that you spring to, like, set off an exploding barrel or something of that sort. Of course, they're not setting off anything like that, but they feel like these cold metal strings that just kind of bend as you kind of push forward, and on your face as well. It's very like different, and something you haven't really felt before.
It makes me only the more curious that this is so differently than in what I'm used to. So I'll push through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as you force your way through, it's just more struggle than normally, but you do get through without too much problems. But as you get through, you're greeted by this strange kind of sight where everything is this kind of unnaturally chrome colored. You've kind of gotten used to those turquoise, aqua, marine type of colors, those kind of organic and kind of watery shades of color, complete with the moonlight and all that. But now you're in this chrome surface that doesn't have any of the it doesn't have any of the furniture or any of that sort that the building had in the physical world. Instead, it's only like a cubicle. It's kind of like a cube with no doors, no windows, no anything. But it's very illuminated. It's completely shiny chrome, and it's covered in exactly the same kind of chrome shade, so that it kind of fades into the surfaces of metallic spider web. And as you look around you, you can see chrome-colored, these very lit and very illuminated chrome spiders that have like mechanic joints and stuff, different sizes. There are spiders that are the size of the tip of your thumb, and there are spiders that are the size of a Russell Terrier, and they're kind of like they aren't reacting to you at this precise moment. They're kind of minding their own business, walking on the walls and the ceiling and the ground, and just kind of laying new metallic streams there of webbing from their abdomen and from their behinds. And Yeah, they look very much like, you can imagine these steampunk-like clockwork, robotic features on that make a spider, but they're completely like shiny, illuminated chrome that you see, and it's very like unsettling and kind of creepy to see, especially since they don't have that sort of shine or that sort of feel that spirits have in the penumbra. They feel like they're completely different.
I look around and I look at myself, and I start to quickly take off the dress that I'm wearing. And as I have it off, is the portal still open behind me?
Yeah.
And I'll probably throw the clothes back. Can I throw it back through the normal room?
Yeah, you can
And
do that.
as I throw it back, I kind of start to shapeshift into my lupus form, and I land on all fours and look around.
Yeah, you can feel when you shapeshift and you kind of crouch down to that form, you can feel different strings kind of like coming from your ears or shoulders or different places where you feel like it's something where you have to like really look where you step unless you want to like trip on the wires or anything of that sort. Nothing major, nothing like yanking on them, but a little bit like you feel them like as you kind of shapeshift.
So I kind of carefully walk towards one of the bigger spiders, and I'll keep a respected distance, and I say, "Excuse me."
It's not responding to your verbal gestures in any way. The entire room has the same dimensions as the interior of the house. It just doesn't have any holes, any way of getting out. It's just this kind of a cubicle. And but the spider in front of you is just doing its business. It's kind of a almost still just a little bit of a moving very slowly forward, and yeah, it's kind of like a giant, you know, tarantula or something of that sort. And it's like the one that you're staring at is something like, this size, just two hands size.
I I activate my gift that I can talk to spirits.
Okay. Um, well, as you activate it, you hear this kind of a metallic clatter, this kind of a the communication that they do to one another is kind of like this screeching metal, like you can imagine like running knives or forks on a metal surface, or a blackboard for that matter. It's kind of auto-tuned, that kind of screeching, complete with some sort of clangs and kind of knacks and little snips, and these kind of, you see that they have like these mandibles that like do these kind of things, and you see that there's microscopic gear work, this just jumble of little gears snapping on each other, making little clicks and snaps, and there's like strings that get like tightened or loosened, and all these different things that make up these different sounds. And it's hard to like, you have to really like focus to make out like actual language out of it that you can comprehend. You have the spirit speech, so you can do it, but it's so alien and unfamiliar to you that you have to like really focus and it's not a language the same way that you use language. It's not like forming sentences, but you figure out what the messages that they're sending to one another, and they're sending messages saying to one another of things like 8 out of 52, immediate external force in immediate proximity, that sort of 2 out of 87 stay stay on target. That sort of there's this technical things that you can like make out that what their kind of intentions are, but it's this very alien language. It's kind of like code. It's kind of like it's a language that doesn't work on the same rules as spoken and written languages do, but it's definitely something that you could spend 10 years studying easily and trying to come up with some deeper secrets, man.
I look at it for a while, and curious mind's eyes will be going like tick, 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 tick. And you see her kind of looking, and are they communicating with sounds, or do they just move the wires and make gestures like that?
It's more that the sound is how you interpret it. Without spirit speech, you wouldn't be able to hear any sound that they're making, besides the sound of their movement and such, but you wouldn't hear any actual audible language. The audible language that you hear is only due to spirit speech, and even then it's this kind of make it stop type of a language. And but as you're kind of interpreting it, I will have you make an perception plus alertness roll at this point.
Ooh. Let me see here. Perception is 4. Alertness is 2. That's 1, 2, 3. With 110. 4 successes.
All right. One of the spiders in like your right there on the wall, just some random one of the spiders just lets out a sound which you read with spirit speech as 17 of 142 initiate probe, and you hear that before a probe is initiated, so you have the opportunity to react before anything hits you.
I'll jump to the side.
Okay, as you jump to the side, from behind you, right, like you can see that it's right from the height and proximity where the back of your head would have been from the wall. There comes this incredibly fast shot, one of those thin wires, and it hits the wall that you were kind of looking at right in front of the spider that was like 2 palm size. It was hanging on the wall there, and it just kind of and it latches on there, and you can see that on the tip, the part that kind of stuck to the wall, that there is this thicker part on it that isn't anything really that specific, but it's like there's the thin wire, and on the tip of it there's a thicker part that has these microscopic spider legs all over it, just doing kind of this kind of movement, and it's just kind of there on the wall. You can easily imagine that it could have been easily lodged into the back of your head, and now there would be this kind of movement inside your brain.
Holy frick! She looks around, ready for 100 of these probes coming from all directions, and she jumps towards the shiny wall and spends a Gnosis point to immediately go back towards the real world.
Okay, and as you do that, spending a Gnosis point, it happens like that. So as soon as you leap to the wall and you feel again this kind of the metallic thing as you're entering through it, but as you're coming to the physical world, you feel the welcoming, organic feeling surface of the other side of the gauntlet. And as you leap through in your stark naked... no, actually, you were in your lupus form. That's right. Yeah. I was just thinking that if this time a human would have... where's Agnes? What are these scratch marks here? And then all of a sudden out of the wall. Yeah. Anyway, that doesn't happen. As you leap from through the hole in the gauntlet in your lupus form, you leap right where your clothes landed when you tossed them through the hole. And when you land there, you notice that North Star is sitting there inside the apartment in her lupus form, completely like. Kind of just in nonchalant, just a regular kind of form, just sitting there. And when you leap through the wall, you're kind of like on eye level with her sitting there, and she immediately breaks out laughing.
What are you laughing at? We have to get out of here.
No, it's I caught wind.
Follow me. I start running.
What?
I call to her, follow me, and I start running out of the house.
She bites you on the tail and grabs it, and it prevents you from leaving the apartment. And she's just again like holding in laughter. It's kind of like, settle down, gosh. And she kind of says, I caught wind that you were having your first visit to the human society, and I couldn't miss it for anything to have come here and see how you were progressing. But this was not what I was expecting. You're left alone in somebody else's house with you leaping in and out of the penumbra and in your lupus form, and your clothes are here, and it looks like did you do these markings here?
Yes, I have, but what are you talking about? This entire place is covered in spiders. Thousands of them, and they shot a probe at me.
Did they hit you?
No. But
well,
they could have shot 100 at them, and then sure they would have hit me. If they could have hit me, they could have hit me. We need to get out of here.
Zip it. Stay. I thought they would have shown you this when you arrived here, perhaps, but that's perhaps expecting too much. But if you've never encountered pattern spiders before, that was as good as any as your first experience, I guess. But pattern spiders are servants of the weaver. They are basically weaver spirits, and they are doing weaver's will in the universe, which is upholding balance. They are completely callously indifferent to anyone's personal matters, opinions, or stances, any of that kind. Human settlements are of the weaver, let's say. That's why they're filled with pattern spiders when you're in the penumbra. It's nothing to get too startled over. It's just the way it is. Humans cut down supplies and weave them into forms that they themselves construct. These buildings, these caves and anthills, like I like to think of them as, they are not something that sprouts out from nature, from anything that Wild herself produces. They've been weaved, they've been created by human beings, and thus they are of the weaver, and thus weaver spirits, weaver servants, the pattern spiders, they are housed in these kinds of places. There are many realms, there are many places in the Umbra where you can find places where pattern spiders roam around and where they hold dominion. But when it comes to the penumbra, the place where you find them the most is wherever constructs of significant magnitude have been erected, such as human settlements. this is a rather small settlement on human standards. If you ever get to go further along the way and you come about a castle, those are giant buildings. Those are buildings that house hundreds of humans inside them. If you see those in the penumbra, you'll see some serious stuff that'll really force your awareness to expand when it comes to pattern spiders and the influence of the Weaver. It's kind of something that I've heard Steel Cave ponder over kind of ominously. He's a bit worried about the expanding influence of the Weaver. The Weaver is still the force of balance in the world, so it's not anything to worry about that much in the end, but it's still something that keeps, as generations come about, the human settlements and all these constructs keep spurting up in larger and larger amounts, expanding the Weaver's hold and influence on the penumbra. So I wouldn't say it's a concern, but it's intriguing at the least. There's places that would be considered in vast metropolises on when it comes to human societies and human communities, far away from here. The city of Lund is the closest large human settlement here, but it's nothing compared to some of the expansive settlements that have been created. If you've ever seen a termite nest, that's nothing compared to what humans are able to build. And in those places, the bigger the spiders, the more they tend to hold power there. This particular place might have been a little bit disturbing because you're inside a building here, so it might have been a little tight fit. But if you want to observe them and study them, at a safe distance, study them from outside the town. Like, arrive to the town from outside. Don't be inside a building like this. It's much more calm than that. But besides that, I was actually kind of curious because I've been gone to visit the bear myself again, and having heard that you're here for the first time in the human settlement, I think there's a lot of things that have been going down during the last 2 days or so. So I just wanted to come and hear what you've been up to thus far.
A lot. But why did it shoot a thing at me?
Most likely to study you. Most likely to have some sort of influence on you. You were an outside force, probably in their perception, contaminating their surroundings.
But there was no exit. I couldn't get out.
Yes, well, if you see them from outside, they look pretty much the same. They're just solid cubicles, solid cubes of webbing, of this metallic-looking webbing. It's a bit unsettling to me as well. But
so you can't get into a house from in the Umbra? Or can you get out of it? Come on.
It might depend, but I've never certainly experienced it myself. I've only passed through this town a couple of times in the penumbra, and it kind of gives me the creeps. I don't really like it, so I tend to stay away. Steel Cave is someone who likes to study these things, so he has much more experience in this. And I've seen the city of Lund from the penumbra, and it looked even more ominous than this in a negative way when it comes to this kind of strange metallic texture and the spiders. It's they lit off. They don't communicate the way regular spirits in penumbra tend to talk to one another. But then again, you've unfortunately have had a run-in with a Bane, if I remember correctly.
You already know about that?
What do you mean?
Well, you asked what I was doing the last few days, but you already mentioned that I ran into to a Bane, or you mean the one in the war zone?
I I I meant that one when I first brought you here. You've had a run-in with a Bane?
Yeah, well, more or less. Well, you asked what we were up to, and we woke up yesterday, and I knew that there was something wrong with the water in the lake. So we went down and we talked to the water spirit and the lake spirit, and we went down and we found that there was this worm creature down in the lake who was feeding itself off the energy of the lake. So we opened it and it escaped, and we finally killed it. Then we went to the bear spirit and we saw its representative in the penumbra, but he brought us to Pandera and we there saw the actual bear spirit. We spoke to him, he gave us some messages. Then we came back and we went to the village here, and there was somebody who saw One Fang change into a werewolf. So we had to kill her, and I stayed here, look after One Fang's wife, and now they found her because we pretended that she died, I think. I'm not sure what happened, but I stayed here in the village to look after her, and now I wanted to go and see the church.
Did did One Fang's true nature found out because of these writings here? These are werewolf runes, you know. If
Yeah, I did those.
Yeah, our existence is supposed to be held secret from humans, and here I am standing on werewolf runes.
Well, there's clearly something going on in this town because I had some dreams about it, and there was also this woman who was constantly spying on them. So this house needed to be protected.
You could have hidden the marks perhaps somehow, or if if humans come in here, they
Yeah, One Fang wasn't too happy about it either. He said that they might have to burn the house and they might have to come and live with us. I think I overreacted.
no we. I think if we could ask the cuckoo bird spirit to help us with this. He's the master of masquerade and deception when it comes to fooling the senses. He might be able to help us cover these up without any problems. But we'll have to contact him. But what did you say about these dreams? You said that you felt that there's something wrong with the town because of your dreams?
Well, not maybe so much with the town, though One Fang's uncle, he is very strange because I was hiding in a tree and he came out of the church and he looked directly at me without even knowing I was there.
His uncle?
Hmm.
Is he related in any way to the guru? Is he a kinfolk?
He might be, I don't know.
Mhm.
That's what I wanted to find out because he looked at me directly and I wanted to talk to him, but One Fang said I couldn't. So I just wanted to go and see there. So I went into the penumbra to sneak over there so he wouldn't see me. And if he would see me, then I know he'd be supernatural, so there would be something going on. So I thought I'd head over there to find out.
I understand, but I also understand why one fan might want you not to go there because you're not as well versed with the human world as you perhaps should be before doing anything of that sort. Because
He said his uncle was broken and he needed to fix it, but I offered to fix him, but One Fang said he should be the one. And I respect that. He was right.
but you said something is wrong with the town because of his uncle. Is there anything else?
No, just his uncle was a bit strange, and the bear warned me for the smoke of humans, but so far I've only had a dream about corpses burning and smoke coming from it that way. I don't see how humans could produce smoke except for making fire.
That might actually be if the bear told you that.
Oh,
I've
that and the eye. I saw an eye twice, similar and the same.
What eye? What do you mean?
Well, Red Claw had this amulet, and this amulet, there was this dark thing in there. And when we purified it, I touched it, and there was this eye. It was like a slit eye from the one that snakes have, and it was kind of burning, and it looked at me when I touched it. So I placed it in mud, and then we made a cleansing ritual. But I also saw the same eye in my dream when I was dreaming, and I was looking after One Fang's wife, and it was looking through the window at me, and there was this woman coming in with a very strange dress, and she had the head of a wolf, and she called me princess.
And there were the smoking skeletons, or
Yeah, yeah, I was more or less lying on them.
if the bear totem told you about that and you dreamed it, Archaean tends to have precognitive features about it. Often when people meditate in the Cairn, they often have premonition dreams of some sort that are extremely cryptical. And having myself turn to the bear totem, oftentimes in times of duress and anguish, it likes to speak in riddles and give you enigmas to unravel yourself. It doesn't like to give you the results itself. It likes to give you a pathway, and you have to yourself do the research and then earn the answer you went to seek from it. And if it told you about burning people or smoking people, and you had that dream, maybe if the spirit in it, if the woman in it called you a princess, maybe that's I I think I've neglected to tell you too much about your heritage when it comes to, well, Shield Maiden has been mentioned many a times in your presence, I'm sure. And I myself am such a poor storyteller that I kind of wish kind of wish Dusklight was here right now. He could take over from me and expand on the story of Shield Maiden to you. But I, you do know that she was the one who founded Arcairn. She was
Of course.
yeah. She was one of the greatest warriors in the entire tribe back then in these parts. And the story is, since she hasn't survived in any written tradition, only in oral tradition of stories about her deeds getting told from one person to another. And when it comes to a lot of storytellers, they often like to embellish everything, like to like pull stuff out of their rear ends to make something they find interesting or something to find pride in much grander than it really is. And then sometimes storytellers hear these overly grand stories and they think that, oh well, that couldn't have possibly happened, so they use their own judgments to strip down some of that overly indulged stories having to do with these historical characters, and they try to humanize them by making them more flawed and such. So the story of Shield Maiden is something that one can't trust in too many of the details about her, especially since some storytellers like to give their own little thumbprint on the story, the way they tell it. And some people like to give it more of a cathartic ending. Some people like to leave it open-ended, and some people want to stick purely to what seems like it could have actually happened. Where some
I
others,
understand.
yeah, it's because it's our family history, it's something that I kind of find troubling when it comes to that. But the the parts that everyone agrees on is that she was the greatest warrior of our tribe at that time, and this Garn that we are centered around was a red talon Cairn at that time, and she led a great skirmish, a war party of our tribe in war against the Red
She came from
Talons.
a boat and she jumped on the ocean on the beach.
Where did you hear that?
I saw it.
You saw it?
Hmm.
Where? In another dream?
Yeah.
Oh,
She had
that's
this shield
interesting because
and a helmet, and she had a spear and a sword, and she jumped off and she called out, and people followed her.
oh, now I'm totally convinced that has something to do with the precognition or something of the sort, because I don't recall ever telling you anything of that detail.
No, you haven't.
Because hmm, once once the Kairen was conquered by her war party and it was settled in, and she had breeded here, had settled a family here, our ancestors here, the details sometimes differ, but the most reoccurring story element is that she wasn't a. I don't like to think of her as someone who's a blood-hungry warmonger, but I, I I like to think that she just is from a world that's beyond peace. She's just off another world and she can't live in a peacetime. It's not in someone of that mindset's nature. And it's often said that when raiders and warriors left these lands to go into the British Isles, as they are known to our people these days, to raid and plunder and make war there, she was among them. And that's as far as the story goes on that strand, because I have never been able to find a Galliard to tell me any further than that. The story isn't very well known beyond our little community here, and the story might be known better in the British Isles if it is true that she went there. If you saw her leaping off of a ship, that might actually confirm some of it. I wish I wish I had that dream, but
She
that
became
might
what
be
the
what.
time needed her to be.
What was that?
She became what the time needed her to be.
Yeah, yes, it seems that if it's if it's been coming to you in these precognitive dreams, that might also forebode something. And if the bear totem is talking to you about smoking skeletons and smoking people, it's
Well,
kind
that
of
was the dream, but he warned me of the smoke of humans.
uh, something we need to figure out. But
I actually wanted to talk to you and Steel Cage about it, but, well, I've been kept really busy.
so it seems. And at that point, I'll shift after such a long time. I'll shift to One Fang at this point. As Red Claw and Red Bitch are on their way, almost there, I still want to go to One Fang so that everything is continuity. One Fang, where we left you off last time was the setting of you standing beside the group of people circled around the let's see I need to recheck the name uh, around Gustav Halvik, the father of Esther Halvik, the girl whose body was found, and who was expressing very sincere sorrow at discovering her body. And on the other side, right beside you, was the church where your uncle was standing and staring straight at you with this between the two of you. And you indeed hear thunder sounding in the distance, in the sky upward. And once once he gets his daughter's body up from the ground, he starts to immediately walk towards the church with the body, and you know that he and his daughter weren't that well liked. They were very like introverted, kept to themselves, very strictly religious, and very like harsh and strict upbringing in the household, where when other men of the town are like, having fun, the father of that family is nowhere to be seen other than, judgmentally looking from the sidelines and that sort of thing. So it's no wonder that even though a lot of people are kind of shocked and taken aback, there isn't much tears in people's eyes either. Even though, of course, death of a member of your community, especially this small of a community, it's much more of a well, it's a tragedy, but it's not like, it doesn't feel like a personal tragedy to a lot of people. But there you are standing, and as he starts to walk towards the church, the mother of Agnes, Camilla Algren, who was also there with the people, comes to you and kind of puts her hand on your shoulder and looks at you. And because she's a kinfolk as well, she of course knows that. Doesn't know what happened to her, but knows that while you were in the woods, you were most likely doing some werewolf business, and now you're here, and she kind of, just lets you know, like she has your back, kind of thing. And, what's going on through One Fang's mind.
Yeah. So right now, like even if when she touches One Fang, he sort of kind of acknowledges it with a nod, but continues to stare. Now, my uncle, he turned, right? Didn't he turn away and walk back into the church?
Not immediately. He would have stayed there, and once Gustav would have walked past him with the daughter, he would have then turned with him and went inside. They're going to basically do the rites and all that sort of stuff, So him being as religious as he was, it's the first instinct to bring her to a holy place.
But nobody went with him. It was kind of just everyone.
Yeah, nobody went with them, and everybody was kind of like, yes, our sympathies type of a situation, but nobody was like weeping.
I mean, One Fang's still dealing with all the killing her. He's the same as he was when we last saw him, where he's just numbed from the world. He's kind of shut himself down, not being able to deal emotionally yet with everything that he had to do, breaking all the vows that he had, his personal vows, which aren't even those of, the werewolf litany or his religious background with his uncle, even though that kind of coincided, that it's his own personal belief that you shouldn't be killing, you shouldn't kill humans, you shouldn't kill werewolves, you just shouldn't do it. That's just his whole thing. So he's shut down emotionally, so, he probably turns, looks at Agnes's mother and nods, then looks back and waits for his uncle to go out of view. The redness on that book that he was carrying, the crimson words, that's not the Bible that he's holding, that's something different. And it's something that Michael's never seen before, and sort of makes the hair on the back of his neck kind of just stand up. And as soon as his uncle disappears, that kind of goes away slightly, like that ominous feeling slightly shifts, and he turns to Agnes's mother and he says, where's Agnes?
Don't worry, she's in our house. She's there with the kids. Nothing's nothing's the matter in that perspective.
Is there anyone around me, or is it just her and I? Like,
Everybody's kind of starting to dissipate. Everybody's kind of going back to their business, kind of like shaking their heads at one another, kind of like, yeah, no, that's such a sorry situation. That kind of
yeah.
general kind of atmosphere, but
Yeah.
nothing beyond that. And yeah, the two of you are kind of alone there.
Okay, yeah, that's what I mean. I don't want to. I mean, I'm not going to yell, obviously, to her, but yeah. So, um, um, what I I'm not sure, but we may have to burn the house down. As he just kind of drops that on her.
Wait, let's not talk any further of this. Let's go to the house. Let's go to Agnes and let's talk more there.
Okay, okay, that might, yeah. And he just kind of follows her. It's still almost zombie-like in his own, stuck in his own mind, basically.
She's kind of rubbing her hand on your upper back there, and she's kind of leaning towards you, kind of as you're walking, as is kind of sensing the troubled, posture of on your demeanor and that sort of thing. And she kind of turns to you and says, "Are you all right? You seem like you've taken it this. I mean, of course, this is a horrible tragedy, but did you know her personally?"
Yeah, kind of. I look over my shoulder towards the church, and then look back. He's like, no, maybe met her once, or bumped into her once.
Mm-hmm. It's a horrible thing, but the woods aren't safe for her. Every
But
milkmaid out there.
he actually, is like, yeah, the woods are not safe. And he kind of, she sees him kind of look down at his hands. And then he kind of just shakes his head and continues forward.
Mm-hmm. Well, she walks with you and still with her hand on your shoulder there, and she's walking you towards the house there, their house, and you see that Hugo, the father of the house, is kind of with his hands kind of crossed there, is kind of in a wide stance, is kind of standing there between the house and between the boat shed, and is kind of like looking at the situation and kind of shaking his head a little bit, and then seeing the two of you going towards the house, and he then kind of just turns around to walk towards the boat sheds, and just says, "Let me know if dinner or stuffing arrives." And he kind of keeps walking, and the woman is like, "Yes, dear." And
Is just for clarification, is Hugo kinfolk?
no, he's not.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the kinfolk in the town are only Agnes's mother, and perhaps some of the kids, but you can't be quite sure. But yeah, you know that
I just
yeah.
want to make sure. I'm sure Agnes had told me who I could technically talk to.
Yeah, it's mostly her mother and herself. Those are the people you can trust to talk about this stuff. So yeah, she walks you towards the house, and once the door opens, Agnes immediately stands up from the chair she was sitting in right next to the door, and immediately leaps towards you, or rather rushes towards you, and wraps her arms around you very tightly and presses her face against your neck there, and you can feel this very long and strong exhale, and she whispers to you that that you're all right, thank God.
He holds her, but he doesn't hold her as tight as he normally would. where he would normally probably just squeeze her in a bear hug. I lower my head slightly and says, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm glad you are well."
As she kind of lets go of the hug, she kind of puts both of her hands on your cheeks there and kind of looks at you, and she has that kind of same time very concerned look, but at the same time very this smile on her face. She uh, has that kind of a presence, and she's kind of holding your head in her hands and kind of smiling and saying, "You had me really worried there."
One thing continually averts his gaze. He doesn't look her in the eyes, and he says, I'm sorry for worrying you. I I left Curious Mind at the house. I I have to go and make sure that she's okay. You should stay here with your mother if she'll let you."
Are you sure?
He just nods and then like slowly starts turning away.
Okay. When you start turning away, she holds to your hand and kind of like stops you from turning away, kind of jerks you, and she comes close to you and it kind of says in a tone that's so that others can't like make out what she's saying. You know, kind of privately. She kind of has holds your hands and looks you straight in the eye, and you can see that she's like both eyes are kind of going from your eyes, you know, to one another. And she has this, the smile is kind of gone, and she looks completely like concerned, and she's looking straight at you and squeezing your hands tight. And she's, after looking at into your eyes for a little bit, she just says, "Are you sure you're all right?
Um,
You look really pale. You
he kind of looks, stares into her eyes, and then kind of looks away and says, I'm fine. I'll be fine." He says, "It'll be a short time. I may have to go to see the others, but I'll be back."
I'll hold you to that." And she smiles.
One bang slightly smiles maybe at the corner, but there's nothing to it. It's just kind of just a reaction. Then he kisses her on the cheek and then turns to just leave, nodding at Agnes's mother.
And as you leave, you can feel like the fingers like get off of your hands, and you feel like almost like that feeling of her, like your touch like escaping hers. It's like this kind of a it's something. It's like a sensation you'll remember or something of that sort. And you can like feel like when you walk out the door, Agnes is left standing there, holding her hands, you know, and looking at you as you go away.
Yeah, as I get maybe 20 or 30 steps, I can feel that all the strength that I kept to just hold myself together just kind of he probably just begins to break, but not where he would be weeping, but just where he has tears coming out of his eyes, where there's no emotion, but he's crying and he doesn't even know it. He just kind of walks back towards the house, oblivious to everything around him.
Okay. As you come closer to the house, you don't have to do a roll. You'll recognize that there is more than one person inside the house, from smell and from hearing speech and that sort of thing.
As soon as I pick up the scent, I sort of let out a low growl and I just run towards the house as quick as possible, worried about Curious Mind.
Okay. And for Curious Mind, as you're sitting there with your mother and your mentor, they're standing and talking about, yeah, that dream and this and that. Yeah, that might mean, you know, shield mate and this and that. And at the same time, the front door and the back door open exactly the same time. And from the front door, one fang leaps in growling, as well as from the back door, a Red Claw and Red Bitch both come into this small apartment, and now it's crowded. And of course, Red Claw and One Fang recognize that in front of them is one of the elders of the Sept, is North Star. They're sitting with Curious Mind, who is in her lupus form at this point, with her clothes being on the ground there on the floor. And yeah. By the way, did since this house is kind of on the edge of the town where you could come in here in your lupus form without getting noticed, has Red Claw stopped to get human?
No, she stopped to get her clothes, and as soon as she walks in, she's walking in all nice and prim and proper. When she does, she goes, "Greetings and salutations," and then when she sees who's in there, she goes, "Ah, hey, how are you doing?" And when she sees that North Star is there, she kind of gives a bit of a bow.
Okay.
Yeah, I immediately close the door as quick as possible. All these people in my house, and then I do the same thing. I nod before North Star, or bow before her.
Yeah, Red Bitch does the same thing, and North Star does like a long bow back with this courteous smile on her face, like she respects the courtesy, and says, "Ah, everyone's here. That's nice. We were just going through the events of the last couple of days since you've been all together. You've gotten to a lot of things in a small time. I must say that."
With that, Red Claw looks over at Red Bitch, and she has a concerned look on her face.
Yeah.
So, do you know about exactly what happened, Elder North Star?
I was told about your visit to the Fangaya realm and visiting the Bear Totem, who, like is common to him, has given you again ominous visions of future and past and present for you to trail and track over to discover for yourselves, I guess, like always. And also, Curious Mind told about your visit to the Lake Spirit and taking care of an actual Bane there. That was something that I hadn't expected myself. I was actually kind of concerned that I wasn't able to sense the presence of a Bane that close to the Gairen itself, and yet you discovered it on your own. I have to say, you earned you earned my respect for that alone. But that's about it. We were talking about all sorts of other things having to do with pattern spiders and the such.
She will look over at Curious Mind, and she'll have a concerned look, and then she'll look back over at North Star, and then up to One Fang, and then looking back at Red Bitch, and now she's kind of having this, from the previous discussion, now she's thinking about telling her what had transpired, seeing that she is an elder.
Yeah, while Red Claw is thinking, One Fang falls prostrate in front of Elder and says, "Are you here to punish me then?"
No, I actually.
Curious Mind looks
I came to see how my daughter is handling the human world, but after she told me about the Lake Spirit and the Bane, I was about to come and congratulate you for doing my job for me. I'm the one who's tasked as keeper of the grounds. I'm the one who's supposed to take care of things like the Lake Spirit, but as I was unable to discover anything being wrong with the Lake Spirit, and you immediately, as soon as my daughter came to your fold, taking care of it, it deserves admiration. I've just wanted to show my appreciation and just seeing how everything's coming along before I take my leave and go back to the
One
island.
thing, with his face still buried in the ground, says, I had to kill her. It had to be done.
I I heard about the woman. You must know that it's commendable thing to have to be able to sacrifice your own personal feelings about it to do what's necessary in these situations. I hope she wasn't a friend or a family member in terms of your suffering over it, since which I can clearly see that you're going through. But Gaia sometimes demands great sacrifices from all of us, and don't don't ever let that make you feel like you should numb your emotions, and how you're reacting clearly to what has transpired is nothing less than life affirming in itself, but it's still something that must be done. It's not an easy life.
One thing just looks up at her and sort of stares like that was not what he wanted to hear. He wanted her to just beat the shit out of him or punish him in some way. Um, he sort of just backs up slightly and just nods to her.
See, the woods are filled with different creatures with lives and with families and with pups and cubs and eggs in their nests and all that. But we don't tend to mourn too much when we need to eat from them. I personally view this in the same light. It's the survival instinct of our true natural animal selves in these situations. I commend and I grow often jealous over those who are privileged enough who don't have to deal with the challenges that our livelihood brings about, such as these kinds of things. But it's part of life as much as anything. It's, even though we lupus-born wolves, just as Red Bitch and Curious Mind and myself here, even though we've gained faculties to make our decisions based on our own moral values and our own judgments based on our upbringing, our surroundings, and every bit of that sort of outside influences, we still prefer to hunt in the woods. We still prefer to kill for our food. We still prefer to live out our natures and our true selves. And I don't think that's anything out of the ordinary. If you feel the way you do about the actions that have taken place, I commend you for it. I admire you for it. It's something that someone like myself or Red Bitch or Curious Mind have to learn much more than you, because we come from a completely different world. We are brought up in the survival of the fittest and the callous indifference of nature towards the misery of an individual. But you get to come from a certain privileged point of view of life, and I I can definitely respect that. And I can empathize even though I can't really claim to know what the sort of feelings that you're going through are actually like. So know that
Well, we
your
can be sure.
packmates without you having to ask it, of course, will always have your back. Your sept elders are looking after your interests as well because your interests are our interests of the entire community here. And we're all pulling on the same rope here. I just came in and came to see what my daughter was up to these days, and I just noticed that she's scribbled and scratched werewolf symbols all over your house, and that's pretty much, in my book, close to the same sort of trouble that you've had to deal with, in a sense, when it comes to our community. Personal feelings about them and personal hardships over them are, of course, different, but this is also something we have to deal with. I've already talked to my daughter about our strong connection to the cuckoo bird spirit, who is the master in disguises, who will, without a doubt, be able to help you cover this up. That's something, curious mind, that as your mother and as elder in your sept, I will hereby charge you with. That is a task for you to pull off.
Yes, ma'am.
There you go. And for the rest of you, I will be taking my leave and leaving you together as a pack, as you are. I admire the respect you have for one another, and I'll be glad to follow your progress and all your future accomplishments as they come along. Don't be a stranger. Come see me if you ever want to talk about anything or ask for an elder's opinion. And she then kind of does another bow and stands up to leave.
Red Claw's gonna wait for her to leave, and she's gonna probably look out and make sure that she's like long away before, when she closes the door, she goes, all right. What's been going on since I've been gone? Hmm? Looking at you, One Fang, and looking back at Curious Mind, and then as she does, she kind of walks over and kind of picks up her satchel and looks down to see Eider Drake, gives a silent nod, and just looks back at the other two, waiting for a response.
You also see Red Bitch sitting there, also looking curious.
I look at One Fang and I kind of, you see her having to hold back her energy not to burst off, and she's like,
Yeah, one pig doesn't. That's funny. He kind of like absently, as he was kneeling there, he kind of reaches over, and he had somehow begun stroking Curious Mind's back. He didn't even know he was doing it, and he stops. And it was some sort of comfort to him to know that she was right there, sitting next to him. And then he's like, I don't know. We don't have to burn the house down? Is that
no,
what?
we don't. We can have the cuckoo spirit repair it, or at least hide the marks I made, which I now realize is actually overreacting, so I'm sorry for that.
No, you're protecting me. Why would I? Did you say cuckoo spirit?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's a cuckoo spirit?
It's the spirit of a cuckoo bird. It's actually one of the first spirits I meet, and we became friends.
One Fang absently kind of just looks around as if he can see maybe the cuckoo bird or something. He's like, "Is the cuckoo bird with us?"
No. She kind of giggles and she says, I have to call him over here. I mean, he's not like a pet who follows me around everywhere.
Oh, okay. One Fang stands up and moves away, heading towards the table to start clearing the dishes that were left there. He's like, well, if you can do that, then if there's anything you need, let me know. Because I'm sure Agnes would love to have the house not burned down.
I change into my human form again, and I pick up one of the cups or the plates that has the water in it, and I'll say, I'll be right back. I walk towards the door which is in the back of the house, and I go out there and I step into the Umbra.
Oh, brother, please. Okay. Now it's time for some perception plus alertness rolls. A naked woman just walks out of the house and teleports into the spirit world. Okay. Forget about the runes. This is something that'll turn heads. No, I'll have you roll. Just roll. Just roll your stealth and I will say intelligence because I know it's more of an intelligence and not dexterity thing for you to kind of all right, I'll do this patiently and this kind of, not right outside of the house.
One Fang is so used to seeing her naked now that he didn't even notice that she was naked. He's just like, okay.
I got 3 successes.
Okay, that's enough. Nobody saw you. But yeah, it's like if this like Tesla thing, opens the portal, and everybody's like, "What the hell?" Like, when they see that.
Well,
But
I thought it was in the back of the woods, so people have no real business being there. So
yeah, it is, but still, it's like you can still see the Algren house from there. So it's still like if somebody went there, like, is anybody home? They might see from that distance,
Okay.
Or if somebody was, about there to just like, is this where Michael went?
Red Claw, when she sees this, her hair kind of stands up and her eyes just sort of like, raise up, and she's like, "Urgh! What is this?" And she kind of turns towards One Fang afterwards, and she's like, shaking her head, "Dangerous. All of this is. One Fang, how is the town holding up? Hmm?
From what I can tell, it seems to look like they believe she drowned. She fell and hit her head, and she drowned.
Good. It's the way I made it look."
So, right, there's something. My uncle, I don't know. There's just something about him that's different. He had a book that wasn't the Bible. It had red writing on the cover, crimson even. And then he just stared at me, menacingly, like he's avoided me before, like he avoided eye contact with me, like he was afraid of me. Now he just stood there staring at me.
Are we aware of all the kinfolk in the village?
Yeah, everyone in your pack at least knows that Agnes and her mother Camilla are kinfolk.
My
Okay.
uncle.
Oh yeah, and him as well. Though that's something that I don't think has been disclosed, for all to know. It's something that that he has known about werewolves, and you know that when you shapeshift in front of him, he wasn't taking it back by it. It was a dramatic thing. He like fell on his knees and was like weeping and all that. In that sense, it was dramatic, but it wasn't like he didn't fall into into delirium, and it was something that he was expecting that might happen to you one day, and the whole point was that he tried to beat it out of you, type of thing.
He tried.
Yeah, so for you, it's easy to deduct that he is a kinfolk, but it's not something that's common knowledge among all the werewolves.
So Red Claw will look at you, One Fang, and she'll kind of walk up. Is he aware? Is he kinfolk?
Red Claw kind of, One Fang kind of looks at Red Claw. I, well, when he's my mother's brother, he was always trying to beat the demon out of me. I assumed he was kinfolk. Doesn't that just automatically make you kinfolk?
No. Not every family member is kinfolk.
Then I don't know. He didn't. I transformed in front of him before to threaten him, to tell him that he could never hit me again.
She kind of just visibly kind of this, she has like a taken aback look. And he did not fall into the old fear. His mind's not reeled back.
No, he's sad and hurt, but he's not insane. I don't think.
See. And he stared upon you with eyes of hatred, did he not?
More of coldness?
I see. You should have told us earlier of this. He might be a danger. There have been instances where kinfolk may have, well, let us just say that their loyalties have shifted and threatened our entire existence. We must keep eye upon him. In this book that you say he holds, Crimson, you say?
The writing on the cover was.
No, the actual cover, it was a crimson-colored book.
Okay, the cover. Yes.
I see. Interesting. And she still has the robes in her hands, and she kind of just lays it onto the ground. We have a situation here. We went into Red Talon territory, and now we have to contend with that. This is our affair, and we shall not discuss this with the elders. We'll handle this ourselves, and we'll make sure that it is conducted as such. Is this understood?
One Fang looks over his shoulder at Red Bitch, and kind of like she nods.
What about that sack you have there? You said it's from there. We have the luxury of having a pretty well-renowned Thurge in our pack who's right outside. Perhaps we should let her take a look at it.
Yeah, One Fang turns to Red Claw after checking with Red Bitch, and that's fine if you think that's best. You don't think we should tell the elders though?
No. No, not at the moment. That would cause too much stir, and in fact, if we handled this here, there won't be no need to tell them of any of it. Each pack has their own responsibilities and their own internal matters, and this should be considered as such. Though it does affect the greater tribe, we cannot risk further. And then she turns her head facing into the direction of where the others were. Antagonization. She then takes a seat and then looks over at you, Wenfang. How are you holding up?
Kind of, you meet your eyes, and you still see the same blankness in them. But he says, "I'm fine." And he looks over his shoulder, back towards where the church would be, outside the door. But and then he looks.
There's forest and everything on the way, so you can't see anything off the building. But
in that direction, just passively, as he's remembering something, he's like, "Do you?" Is that now I'm more worried about Agnes, knowing that there could be something wrong with my uncle.
We don't know anything at the moment. All we have are suspicions. We cannot act upon them as if they are fact. We must make sure that they are true before we do anything. We are working in human territory now. We must abide by such. It is our means of survival, and theirs as well. We must maintain that balance. That is important.
You see Red Bitch kind of looking at the two of you and kind of rearing out of the door to look at the backyard where Curious Mind went on her own to step through the gauntlet there. She's kind of looking at the two of you and kind of slowly starting to walk in her lupus form to the behind the house.
Red Claw kind of looks back, and when she does and notices this, she'll be like, Red Bitch can handle herself. She'll be back later, I assume. One thing, you need to understand that situation could not be helped. It wasn't your fault. Sometimes these things happen. We must deal with the consequences.
And you guys hear cutting on top of that, you guys coming or what?
Oh,
Red Bitch saying outside.
oh, that was Red Bitch. I wasn't sure, so it was at the front door. I'm like, oh.
No.
Yeah.
She, Red Claw, steps out and does, and when she does, she looks at One Fang. Come on.
One Fang drops the dishes that he was doing on the table and follows after Red Claw slowly.
We'll have plenty of time to mope later. Come on. And he'll just walk past the gauntlet. And yeah, Curious Mind, this took a little time there. That so you would have arrived into the penumbra before everybody else. And as you went outside the door and there stepped sideways, you feel the familiar sensation of stepping sideways. It doesn't have that metallic flare. It feels, again, very organic, very fluid-like, and like regularly. But as you step outside, you do notice that there's a little bit of those wires loosely on the ground in the grass. Everything seems very normal. Like you see the trees; they look exactly like every time you step into the penumbra. You see the sky looks the same. The moon's size and glow looks the same. Everything looks very much the same. But when you turn around to look at the house, you see that it is actually described in One Fang's prelude session. It's like a cube. It's like a box. It has the same. Those measurements of the length of the walls and all of that it has in the physical realm. It doesn't have any doors, any windows, anything. It's completely made from this chrome metallic spider web that's just laid on so thickly that it forms solid walls. It's just a collection of this metal wire going, zigzagging here and there, forming these spider webs patterns. But it's just so thick that it's like this completely smooth, or well, not smooth. You would feel the different wires there, but still, it's like this, like these cubic things, and those wires kind of loosely go off of it, kind of like vine plants would off of the wall. Like they kind of go into the ground in this kind of angle, this kind of and they kind of run on the ground loosely in this kind of like loose rope or roots or something of that sort. And you see that the outside top of it is also covered in spiders who don't. The building from outside doesn't have the same sort of bright chrome glow that it had inside. Inside, it felt like that, like there's illuminated, lights, like LED lights, illuminating the whole place. From outside, it's much more like bolt gun metal, this kind of old grayish metal hue to it, and so do the spiders. Except for, of course, the moon is glowing there, but it's still like as if light on that kind of surface, not that kind of chrome that's waxed and all that. And the spiders, again, like different sizes, and they just kind of mind it. It's like a spider's nest that's like a ball, and there's like a black widow or something on top of it, and rarely moves, and when it moves a little bit or leaves completely or something. They're kind of like that. It's very much like a spider's nest. It's like they're hanging there. And you can see in the distance, you can see the Algren house, which looks exactly the same in that same. Of course, the dimensions are fitting to that Algren house, but the same sort of exterior and the spiders and all that. But one thing, even though you couldn't see the church from that position because the trees were so tall and all that, something you do notice is some sort of a thing that comes even from the treetops. You can see that there's some sort of a round shape that's pretty long, as long as a Viking ship, that's like upside down or something. It has this curvature. There's some sort of a figure beyond the woods there, where in the direction that the church would be.
I make some distance from between me and the house. And I'm aware that something might be shot at me, so I'm like a bit like, okay, keeping my distance, but being ready to jump to the side. But as I think that I kept a safe distance, I'll call out to the cuckoo bird.
All right.
While I do so, I look, and in curious mind, the others are staying in the house, so she'll look around and she'll say, well, as long as I'm here. She kind of walks in the direction of the church.
Okay. Since you had your spirit speech, you can still make out that the spiders are making that same sort of communication noise, and they seem to be communicating very mundane-seeming tasks of simply like 17 of 32 mend structure alpha. 72-5 acknowledged, and they lay more wire there, that sort of thing. So it's very much like this. Yeah. And did you say that you're walking towards the church as you're calling the cuckoo bird, or you first go there and then call the cuckoo bird, or first call the cuckoo bird and then go there?
Call the cuckoo bird while I'm walking over there.
Okay. You can decide if you have some sort of a specific call or anything of that sort. It does the same effect of summoning him, but if you want to have some sort of a crowing sound or whatever, you're free to have any.
Yeah, I'll probably go out. Cuckoo, cuckoo.
All right. You don't immediately hear his wing flaps or anything of that sort. So he might be a little distance away, but he surely will come because he comes every time you summon him. But this gives you enough time where you're walking towards the church, where just as you're about to come like the edge of the woods where you would see what's beyond it, where the church would be, as you've already like started to see more of the town's buildings that look exactly the same, except with those particular houses' dimensions, but the same sort of spider wire nests and that sort of thing. There's also this little bit of a fog in the air, not anything major, but still, it's kind of like a little bit of a fog here. And as you come to the woods edge and you see the church, you see that the church also has the same dimensions of the tower here, bell tower here, and the roof that's shaped like that and all that. It has all the same dimensions as the church has. But what you see is that you see what that curved shape was from. It has a ginormous spider on its roof. Like described in one of Fang's prelude when he first saw it, there's a giant mechanical robot spider on top of the roof, about almost as big as the church itself. It's standing on its roof, and it's very slowly moving its legs to kind of fix its position, and only making very mild movements of going back and forth here and there, and the legs all moving in, to complement the movement it's attempting to make. And from this distance, you can make out all the different eyes that it has, all eight, that are all like camera lens, like these, that emit this. This pale glow from them. You can see that it has like mandibles that go like, and beyond those mandibles, it has another set of mandibles, and beyond them, it has another set of jaws, and beyond them, it has like gear work going on, and it's like you see tubes coming up with steam like coming off it as it moves, and it's just filled with details and joints and everything of the sort, and it's letting out this kind of a Mass Effect Reaper horn sounding, like this kind of this kind of noises, where the others let more of these shrieks. It lets much more out this kind of foghorn kind of bass thrumble that almost seems to vibrate the fog that's little bit in there, and it's kind of a haunting thing to see, because if those small ones like launch probes, this one could just like engage flamethrower, or something, whatever. It looks like something you don't want to go and touch up close. And as the moment you see it, you hear the flap of the familiar wings, and you see the glowing cuckoo bird coming in the distance. But as it comes, you hear, before you actually see it, you hear from the woods, you hear words such as sorry. You hear quirking of birds. Sorry to correct myself, but you hear like a mocking quirking of birds as you see the familiar image of the cuckoo bird spirit arrive, and again it comes close to you and kind of kicks its feet towards you, or with its wings in the background, so that it can grab a hold of you with its feet before it can stop flapping its wings. And it arrives. It grabs a hold of you and says, "My friend, you summoned me."
Yes, I did. Yes,
You seemed distracted this evening.
I kind of point at the huge spider on the church.
Yes, pattern spiders.
Yeah, I didn't know they'd get this big.
Wondrous sight. It is the size which often tells of the amount of the weaver's hold and intent. You see, it's hovering over a religious sanctuary. Religion tends to fall under weaver's dominion.
I see.
Human constructs of most intriguing nature.
A spider produces smoke.
Yes, it produces much of different things.
And it's linked to humans. I needed your help with something.
Speak the word and I shall offer my help.
Thank you. I kind of walk back into the woods towards the house of One Fang. I kind of went a little extreme on redecorating a house with werewolf runes.
You can see that it's kind of it's vibrating a little bit as it's kind of almost like hiccuping, and it's going like
Yeah, you see. a corner of Curious Mind's mouth also kind of twirls up, like, yeah. She kind of almost animated. She like scratches herself behind the head, like, yeah, I was kind of stupid. But she says, well, if any humans see those runes, then One Fang will be in a lot of trouble. And seeing as you're great at hiding, I was hoping you could help me by helping him to hide these runes.
Very well. I shall lend you my gifts for a duration. For this one task, I can simply have it be done. Although, my friend, I will require ingredients.
Of course.
Good.
What do you require?
Bring me 2 eggs. And bring me a cattail. And also... He's not thinking, by the way. He's not like pulling it out of his ass like I am. And
And some vodka.
well, why not? And a dash of vodka. With these ingredients, I will be able to bestow my gifts temporarily to your use, and you will be able to hide your misdeeds.
All right, I'll get what you need.
I shall wait here.
I need to go back into the physical world to get these things, of course. So I'll be back in a while.
Yeah. Well, this took just about the same time as everybody else in the house took, and you two meet basically again, like with the front and back door, just as Red Bitch is about to open a hole to the gauntlet. At the same time, Curious Mind does the same, and 2 holes are at the same time created right next to one another, and you see, Curious Mind, that your hole seems to be quite useless at this point since somebody already opened one next to you.
Ah. Oh, I kind of wait not to be like have this Scooby-Doo kind of situation where they enter and I just leave. So I kind of wait for them to enter.
Okay. Well, therefore, in front of you, you see Red Bitch enter through her hole there, and she kind of looks around and, huh, coincidence, and steps through. And yeah, I suppose Red Claw and One Fang are going to step through as well. And
Yeah, when Red Claw steps through, she kind of looks around and noticing all the webbing and stuff, this metallic threads. She kind of looks, she kind of walks up to one of the mechanical spiders and kind of just without touching, just kind of leans in close and just looks at it, and she goes, "Oh, it's been a while since I've been in here."
as you go close, it kind of you see that it's what is it like? It's not the thorax, but no, spiders don't actually. Well, oh, whatever. The back part of its body, it kind of opens up, kind of like some sort of a contraption. It just kind of opens and lets out this snap sound when it kind of opens in front of you as you went close to look at it, kind of alarming you.
Seeing that, I kind of yank Red Claw back. I say, "Careful, they might shoot something at you."
It's okay. I've been here before.
Oh.
Have you?
Well, yeah, but only inside the house.
Oh. Well, this must be a new experience for you. I'm sorry, I didn't know. It's easy to forget that sometimes. They're really quite harmless. And a little cute if you look at it the right way. And she kind of just pokes at it a little bit.
As you poke at it, a little stream of steam spews out of its the party that snapped open, like not harmful at all, but again like this kind of you know.
Ah, see that? Oh, adorable and
I,
strange.
I take a step back as it spews smoke, like, I'm like, whoop.
You kind of hear one bang, like, you should see the one in the church.
I did. It's huge.
I
The
heard there
cuckoo
are
says
even.
it's because of religion. It seems to work similar as structures.
Hmm. Yes, that is the way it works. They are constructs of human make. I've heard that there are ones even bigger than that.
Wow, that's hard to fathom. I've spoken to my friend, and well, he can help us by fixing your house. I just need 2 eggs, a cat's tail, and some vodka.
One
What's
Fang's
the
house
question?
would contain One Fang's house contains eggs, and you know that Agnes's father Hugo would have vodka in the house, and cat's tails are available at the shore of the lake there.
Yeah.
Well, Red Claw will look at you and say, I can get the cattails.
Wait, I look at the cuckoo bird. Cattails from an actual cat or the river plant?
The plant, I am not a monster.
Okay.
And it continues like it's hovering in a circle above the backyard area.
Red Claw is actually kind of shaking her head at that, going,
Well, I guess I'll head back and get the vodka then. There are eggs in the egg. The, what do you call a place you keep your chickens?
the
Hen house?
Pen?
The pen?
Chicken pen?
Oh, sure. Okay, well, the chicken pen we'll call it. I don't know. I have no idea what to call it.
the hen house.
And English is my first language. Yes.
Great success.
With that one thing, is the portal still open or is it closed?
It is still open there. Nobody has closed either one of them. There's 2 portals next to it.
So one thing steps through it and begins heading towards the town. I mean, towards Agnes's.
Okay. And
I probably I'll look at Red Claw and say, you better pick up the eggs as well. I'll stay here. I mean, you're fully dressed and all, and I'm not.
Oh, well, one thing has that. I was just going to go and get the cattails. That takes the longest time, and I can get there pretty fast.
All right. Well, he'll probably pick up the eggs as well. I'll wait here.
And with that, she kind of just steps out, and when she does, she'll make sure she's out of view from everybody. And when she gets around to the house, she'll kind of declothe when she gets out into the woods and stash it away, and then.
Oh, I just want to clarify. The lake doesn't. He didn't mean the lake that's on the sept. The whole town is on the lakeside. So it's right
In
there,
that
right?
case, she'll just kind of walk down there and collect the cattails. Yeah, she won't even have to go into any form. She'll just walk down there and get it.
Okay. Sorry if I ruined your plans about traveling there.
No, that's fine. That makes things much easier. Just like, I'll just walk down.
Yeah. Okay, and one fan getting the eggs is not a problem at all once you would come back, but going to the Algren house for the vodka is another tale. So yeah, you arrive to the house to door. So
before the door.
you know that Hugo is in the boat shed. So if you want to approach him about it, he's there. And if you want to go straight to the
Yeah, I was
house,
going to say, I actually go to the boat shed first, trying to
okay.
avoid the house. And when he gets to the big sliding doors, he kind of just bangs on it a couple times. Like, Hugo?
Oh, come on in.
Michael. One thing throws the door back and kind of comes in and closes it behind him. He's
Yeah,
like,
you see when you come into the shed, it's like halfway into the shed, it's still solid ground, but halfway from the midpoint, it's already like it doesn't have a floor, so it's already like water there, and there's these support struts there that hold this boat there. That's this fishing boat. That looks almost finished. By the uh, surface of it, it looks basically that only the tar surface would like be the only thing that's missing. And Hugo is, with his knife, he's kind of carving this little block of wood there into shape, and he kind of looks at you with a kind of questioning look as you arrive in. So he's like, kind of like, "What's on your mind?"
I was wondering if you had any vodka I could purchase off you.
Sure. Ah, yeah, yes, yeah. I I kind of noticed that you were taking it kind of rough with the tragedy that went down. Did you know the girl by chance?
No, no. I mean, I've seen her, and she came to the church when I was younger with her father, but no, I didn't know her well, sadly.
I always hated the old bastard, but human nature, of course, forces one to have sympathy in these cases, which is, of course, good idea. But I don't recall you getting drunk all that much, so I'll give you some no problem, but just don't go around beating any of my kids up.
It's like I would not do that.
And he kind of fiddles around on the shelf there, and you see that he has a little box there. It's like a small box, and he kind of lifts that up, and it doesn't have a bottom, and underneath it there's a bottle,
Nice.
and the bottle is kind of like there's 1/3 of it is filled, and it's clear spirit there, and he kind of gives the bottle to you. Hide it well. I don't want Camilla to see you coming in and leaving with a bottle.
I will.
She's not supposed to know I have that. Yes.
I kind of reach out my hand to shake his hand, and when he takes it, I shake and say, "I'll repay you next time I'm in town. I'll get you some more, so you're not out when you need." And I thank him.
Well, by the way, Stefan was supposed to help me with the tar job on this boat, but I haven't seen him around. Well, he was around last night for the dinner, but nice to arrive and leave based on the dinner bell. But I need helping hand is nowhere to be seen. So if you don't mind at some point repaying that little precious liquid courage there with a little help with the tar job here.
One Fang looks over and he says, "Certainly, I'll definitely come and help you."
That's what I like to hear. That's scrap.
And he's thank you, Hugo. And he kind of turns and heads out the doorway, closing it softly behind him, tucking the bottle deep into his pocket on the inside and kind of holding it close to his body,
Yeah.
and then shuffling off opposite the house, going the long way around.
Yeah. Okay. Of course, just to remind everybody, Oxspear's human alter ego is Staffan. So when he mentions that, he meant Oxspear. So yeah, now everybody is there. You have the eggs, you have the vodka, and you have the cattails.
The
No
river
problem
plant, not actual cats.
No cats were harmed in the process.
Yeah.
So yeah, now everybody's there and everybody's most likely gathered in the penumbra at this point. So now you have all the ingredients there, and the cuckoo bird is hovering in the air.
Okay,
I,
curious mind, we've gathered all your ingredients, and she hands them to you.
thank you. And I kind of put them in a little pile and say, "We got him."
Very good. Now I will give you specific instructions, and you will follow them, yes?
Okie dokie.
Very well. Carve an X on the ground. Now place the cattail on one of the straight lines. Yes, very good. And after that, I wish you to carve the Garou runes over all the spaces the X has on its sides, all the 4 spots. Mark the birth symbol of yourself to acknowledge it to the item. Mark the moon you were born under to mark it to the item, and mark the tribe you were born into to mark it to the item, and then finally my symbol to make it legitimate.
I start working on that.
While he is doing that, if anyone wishes to assist him, break the 2 eggs and put them on the 2 opposite uh, ridges that are on the carved X, so that they naturally flow into the center.
Red Claw does that. She'll eagerly grab the eggs and begin doing so.
Fine. Now, the other one, the third one of you, take the vodka and slurp it into your mouth and gargle with it. Meaning one fang.
While I'm writing, I'm looking at one fang like, okay, you heard him.
Yeah, Red Claw kind of just looks over at you.
Crosshead begins gargling.
While you're gargling, the cuckoo bird glides and circles around the X that's on the ground with the cat's tail there and the egg yolks kind of like flowing to touch it, and and while Curious Mind is writing those runes, you hear him letting out this kind of throat singing, this kind of as it's kind of gliding around it, and you start to hear from the woods, especially Curious Mind because you have spirit speech. But as this little rite is being performed, you start to hear these kind of from the woods, from the treetops, these dissenting voices of different kinds of birds, and you start to make out sentences like demon, demon, reaper, slasher, terror, gouger, demon, as the other birds are like voicing their dissent upon you cooperating with the cuckoo bird. But yeah, there you are. He's still gliding and circling and making the noises as the other birds are harassing you verbally. And
Red Claw will actually look at Curious Mind and go, why are they doing this?
They don't like the cuckoo bird that much.
Strange, the politics of spirits.
One Fang, since he does a lot of nature tricks and he writes down behavior of different animals and all that, you will have noticed the certain peculiar things that cuckoo birds are known for. You have found out that cuckoo birds lay their eggs in other bird species nests, and when the cuckoo bird hatches first, it kicks off the other eggs from the nests and makes it so that the mother of that brood will think it's its own by applying camouflage and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, parasite.
I would think after a couple seconds of gargling that vodka too, on top of it, then hearing all the devil screams, one thing would just be, oh God! Just start spitting vodka out because there's no way he can get it. He's now hacking on the ground. It's pouring out of his nose. He's just like,
oh, poor bastard. But yeah, as the
long enough, he pulls his hand up.
as it's all going down, the runes that Curious Mind drew there and carved there are starting to emit this same kind of turquoise glow that the cuckoo bird kind of emits regularly. And as that happens, the egg yolks that are kind of seeping into it start to kind of sizzle. You see this kind of sizzling that they would do on a hot pan. This kind of they're not like forming into like fried eggs, but they're sizzling on it. And the cuckoo bird says, "It is almost ready. Now, Curious Mind, hold up the cattail and hold it in front of your face as if holding up a sword if you were a human."
She thinks for a moment and then kind of grabs it and just holds it in front of her, thinking that's the way they hold a sword, because she's never seen somebody hold a sword before.
Now, One Fang, spit on her face.
What?
The vodka, I mean.
One thing gets off the ground. He swings him some more vodka. He's just like just spraying.
As you have the sizzling cattail in front of your face, as the vodka like comes from his face, it washes all the brown bits that were sizzling on the cattail, and in almost like this super slow-mo camera, it's like this that completely like makes this war paint on your face, and you hear this kind of as it's like this kind of a spiritual enlightenment enveloping me as it's coming on you, and you immediately like as it comes, you open your eyes and they're emitting this glow of turquoise, and you feel your palms emitting this kind of scent, this kind of vapor that feels like it's like the pores on your hands are like getting this flow very much in a similar way as One Fang feels the flow from the totem on his neck. This kind of it feels like it flows into your hands. These pores from your hands come like this sweat that emits this vapor, and while the other birds are mocking you, the cuckoo bird says, "Wipe that on the surfaces to cover anything up. It will stay hidden as long as it needs to be in this case. Until the house is burned down, for say."
All right, excellent, thank you. And thank you, One Fang. I kind of smile at him.
Here, take more of the swig. And she, like, takes the vodka and just starts shoving it in your face. Go on. Practice handling your liquor.
I probably move towards the portal and step back.
All right. Well, you get to the house, and in the physical world, you're stark naked, long-haired blonde woman there with vodka and cattail mucus, with egg and everything of that sort on your face. those glowing things and vapors don't, you don't see them in the physical world. So you basically just look like a crazy person who's like, like rub something in their face. It's yeah, you would be a total sight for anyone to see. Yeah.
Yep. So I walk into the house and start to cover the markings that I made, and I'll start to use I'll use the same pattern, or I go from where I started the first time I made them and start to work my way back. And am I the only one here?
Yeah. There's nobody in the house that, unless the rest of the group comes, behind you or anything of that sort. But as you arrive, there's nobody there.
Yeah, Red Claw will come out immediately afterwards, and forgetting that she's not too used to being around humans, she'll kind of like stand in front of her, making sure no one really sees her and stuff. And now she feels a little bit tense about this as well, because she's like, oh, come on.
Okay, so the rest of you are kind of like making sure you're like scouting kind of, or like standing there to see that nobody comes there to interrupt or anything like that.
Just guarding the doors, basically.
Yeah. The best thing about this little house, not only that it's secluded, is that there isn't like any squiggly ways to there. You will see anyone who's attempting to come to the house from a long distance away, unless they would like purposefully try to hide themselves coming there. If somebody would come from the woods, they might be able to creep close or something like that. But if anyone with sincere intentions or anything would come, you would see them from afar.
Do you want me to hide all the runes or leave a few?
No, please, Curious Mind, do them all.
All right.
You'll notice that as you hide them, they only are basically hidden. Any protective qualities they would have are not diminished at all. It's simply that as you run your hands or you run your fingers, across them, it feels like you're almost like just kind of emitting some sort of like a clay-like substance into those pores, and it just kind of like using a razor. It just leaves everything that you've touched completely like masked, as if the surface had not been tampered with at all. The effect of the runes is still there, but it completely works, and it's completely legit looking.
All right, so I'm thorough and run in my head that I cover every rune that I made.
All right.
Knowing me, I probably counted them, so I know if I had them all.
Yeah, it was like it was somewhere around like 3 a.m. When you started to make them during the night, and it was somewhere you stopped somewhere around sunrise, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and it's probably easier to erase them than to actually make them, so it's just like...
Yeah, sure. But yeah, it takes a little time to still do all of that. So, sometime later, as every one of those runes, you've double-checked every one of them is hidden. The entire group is, you're all there. Since this took a little time, is Red Claw and One Fang, are you just, keeping guard, or is there anything going on with you?
One thing will continue to just clean up the area. There were dishes that were left out, food pots that need to be cleaned. He'll just continue doing that. Once he notices that there's really nothing going to go on, and both Red Bitch and Red Claw are there to guard the place, so he's going to just clean up, just so Agnes doesn't have to do it.
Red Claw is going to sit down on a bench, and she'll kind of weave together some little ornamentation.
Okay. As you're doing that, as you're kind of...
Can I talk while I'm doing this? I'm assuming so.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I'll say, Red Claw, wait, now I'm doubting if Curious Mind was actually there, but there was somebody here that asked after if Red Claw was there, right? a human came by, a villager came by and said, like, was the name of Red Claw's human form.
Yeah, it was. I think you were there because you had heightened senses, so you could hear. It was the father of the murdered girl who went to the Algren house asking if Michael is. Anybody seen Michael? And he also mentioned almost like just off the top of his head, and she's never around either. Where's she gone as well? You know, nothing more specific than that.
So I'll tell him. I'll tell Red Claw there was somebody here who asked if you were around. So they probably been in your apartment to see if you were there. And they kind of. It was the father of the girl that died.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, I forgot. I'll be back. And she gets up and she actually makes her way down to the church.
Okay. So you're heading towards the church directly with your. You have, of course, the clothes on and all that.
Mhm.
Okay. When you walk across the town, it's kind of a. You're one of those people who people tend to kind of turn their heads towards, and not only because of your look. You have very kind of peculiar hair. You have like scars on your face and that sort of stuff. Even though you have nice clothes and all that, it's still something where people kind of when someone says, "Hey, Petra is there," people are like, "Oh, is really okay?" Like it's not like whatever, because you know you're interesting to look at. But yeah, as you kind of walk by, nobody really engages you that much. It's just kind of regular. But everyone does seem to kind of turn their heads when you walk by. But yeah, as you're making it towards the church there, you see that there's nobody really outside the church. One little thing that you notice, as you're about to arrive, make a perception plus alertness roll.
Okay. Let's see. Perception plus alertness. Okay, I got one botch and one success, so they cancel each other out. All right.
Oh. Well, I shouldn't have made you roll. By the way, something that you can do in situations is if you want to roll again, you can roll, but with one higher difficulty.
Really? I'll do that then.
The storyteller wants you to know what's going on.
Okay, this is funny. I got a botch, but I got a 10, so I get to roll again. And I got another botch.
Why did I make you roll?
Do it
Why
again.
don't you roll again with the difficulty of 8 this time? This is kind of pathetic on my end.
I got another botch. And no successes.
Fine! It appears the gods of role-playing deem it so. You do not make any sight of what's happening. Well,
She's thoroughly engrossed with some of the items that she has made during this time and is walking along.
okay. Well, in that case, you arrive to the church, but the doors of the church are closed in front of you, and there's nothing really that jumps out, worth mentioning. Besides that, it's that the doors are closed, and if you try the handle, the door seems to be shut, like it doesn't budge.
Are there any windows that I can look through?
Yeah, there are actually, at this time in history, it's precisely churches that would have glass windows. So you're able to peer in through one of them, though that would require good perceptive skills. Let's see if you can roll perception plus. Let's see if. Yeah, I would think. No, actually, besides that, let's rather see you roll stealth. So let's see a dexterity plus stealth. No, let's combine the two. Perception plus stealth.
Ooh.
Odd roll to make, but that's the way we roll.
Alright, this is way more favorable. I got a 9 and 2 10s, and so I get to roll those two. One of them was just a 2, so that doesn't count, but that one turns into another 10, so I get to roll that one again. And it's another 10, and roll that one again. And that one's an 8. Okay, so let's see, that was 2. That's 5 successes.
Okay, that's pretty much the maximum. So by doing that, I can kind of mend what you missed last time. So as you remain stealthy and peer through the window, first thing that you notice is that there in front of the altar, there's been a table erected there, a wooden table, and the girl's body is there, and she's straight as a plank with her hands like that, and her neck all the way back, like and she's lying there. You see that in the room there's the father is sitting on the front row of the benches there, and he's kind of like this, leaning on his hand, kind of looking mournful and melancholic with the whole thing. But what you also see is that a door to the side room where all the priestly kind of preparations and work desks and books and all these kind of things would be stored, you see two figures. You see the figure that's clearly Friar Ulfson, One Fang's uncle, and you see a young man who has riding clothes on, and you see a door close, and you hear a door open on the outside, and you hear footsteps going away from the church on the grass on the ground there.
No, I walk around to see who the footsteps belong to. These footfalls.
Okay, as you kind of rear from the side of the church, you see that a young man who doesn't look familiar, doesn't look like someone who's a regular in the town or anything of that sort, who's wearing riding clothes, is walking towards the horse of the family that's had this loss there, and you see that he has a what's that? Like a shoulder bag, like
Oh, a satchel.
Yeah, and he's going to the horse, and he's rising up to the saddle. And as he goes and rides to the saddle, and you hear the leather straps crackle in his hands, and the horse rides off of town.
At this point, she'll continue peering through and looking. Just watching what is going on, making sure everything is fine, and she'll actually be paying attention to that red book that One Fang mentioned.
At this point, you see it basically in his hands. Friar Ulfson is walking around, basically holding it, and as he's going to the father who's grieving there, he's kind of with one hand on his shoulder, kind of seemed to be comforting him, but he's still like he has the big book in his hands, and he's kind of like you see his head moving like he's speaking to him, but he has the book clenched in his hands. And from the window, you can only see it to be a crimson thick book, about the size as one of those old as family Bibles that has all the pictures and all that. You know, it's that sort of thing that you could break somebody's skull with. You know, it's a big, heavy book that that has the crimson cover.
At this point, she's gonna watch until like it's all over with, and when everybody leaves and stuff, um, she'll kind of be sitting outside on a bench or something, just waiting.
It might be a very long time.
That's true. Well, in that case, she'll head back afterwards.
It might very well be that the man would leave when it would come, you know, dark or something, or when he would be like persuaded to leave to go to sleep in his house. And I can already tell you that the priest, One Fang's uncle, would not leave the church at all. He's basically barricaded himself into the church all throughout this time, ever since One Fang shapeshifted in front of him, and he became very secluded, only doing his priestly duties inside the church, but mostly like socially excommunicating himself with mostly of what the townsfolk, and remaining only like focused on his duty.
Okay, gotcha. So in that case, she'll go ahead and head back to Winfing's place.
Okay. By this time, I'm expecting that you didn't bring it with you, as One Fang and Curious Mind are, you know, in the place. It's you notice that that the sack that Red Claw had brought with her into the house, the crimson colored sack that Curious Mind hadn't seen before. This is something that only One Fang and Red Claw have seen before, and it's indeed a crimson colored sack of cloth that as you're kind of doing your covering deal, you start to hear this kind of a strange, eerie, this kind of a mild tone, the same sort of a tone as you heard in your dream when it changed into the words of bastard, as the moon was like the reptile eye in the sky. And you kind of, as you're doing it, and One Fang is you know, occupied with his things and all that, as well as Red Bitch. It's something that kind of stands out as you're doing your thing, and you start to hear this eerie thing, and it clearly seems to be emanating from that sack.
What is that?
What?
It's the same thing from my dream. I look towards the sack.
As you come closer to it, you feel like the sound is getting stronger, and you start to have this smell, this foul stench of death, basically, like the stench of a dead body.
I point at it. What's in the sack?
A dead person. We don't know who. Do you hear something?
It's the same voice from my dream.
I kind of stop and I go, is it a buzzing kind of a voicey sound?
It's a hissing sound. Bastard. I walk towards it.
Okay, as you do, it does get, again, more pronounced, but it doesn't let out the words bastard, it just lets out the hissing, but it's very audible to your ears. One Fang at this point doesn't hear an exactly like a sound, but because One Fang, Curious Mind is so focused on it, single-minded about it at this point, it's almost like you remember exactly what it sounded like to your ears when you heard it. You don't hear it right now, but it's like,
right.
It's in front of you.
Yeah, hence my question to her. Like, you're trying to get to see that she was feeling the same I was. One Fang kind of kneels down beside her as she goes near it, and I'm like, does it feel wrong to you, Curious Mind?
It smells like death.
But is it something more? I was
There's
drawn.
definitely something there. It wants me to be afraid of it. I look down on it. I'm not kneeling down as One Fang has. I stand like a few inches away from it and look down at it, at the sack. And I'd say, look at it, and I say, I'm not afraid of you. What are you?
You start to hear the hissing start to turn into that kind of croaking sound that I described it to One Fang hearing it when he, in the last session. It starts to go from this kind of smooth hiss into this kind of a throat sound of squeezing someone's throat, and this kind of type of a tone to it.
What happened to you? What made you the way you are?
Make an enigmas plus intelligence roll.
Oh yeah. Enigma and intelligence. It's almost as good as my perception and stuff. There we go. It's 1, 2, 3. 4 successes. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's definitely something vile, and it's emanating the same sort of. It has the same sort of feel as. For some reason, the image that you get in your head is that what's in this is of the same brood as what you fished out of the lake, and what was in that pendant that you saw the eye in. And that through the reflective nature of the penumbra, you might be able to discover a lot more of its essence.
I very casually kind of move my hand, because I'm in human form at this time, to the shoulder of One Fang, and kind of casually like just have him move back and kind of place myself between, not completely, but like part of my shoulder is in front of One Fang.
What is it? And One Fang moves back. He's not going to resist.
She says so in a very casual voice. And she says, it's linked to the pendant Red Claw had and the thing that was in the lake.
I knew it had some sort of evil in it.
All right.
Destroy it.
We need to learn more of it. Having 3 of these things show up in such close proximity of each other and in such short interval must mean something. Where's Red Claw?
And about these, at this time, through the events taking this much time, you would have at this point been able to cover all of the rooms. Pretty much, that job is kind of finished. And now that you're thinking about this, this is just about the time that Red Claw would arrive. Would she just walk in?
She knocks before she just walks in.
Okay. Well, you can all smell that it's a familiar person.
Oh, okay. I was like, well, okay. One Fang kind of jumps up, and then like he's trying to just move the bag away, and then like he breathes in and senses Red Claw, and he's like, oh, come in, Red Claw. Oh, I mean Pietro.
As Red Claw would step into the house, you would see that both Curious Mind and One Fang are kind of sternly and in a concentrated manner focused on the sack that you brought here, and you yourself don't sense anything, out of the ordinary from it. You don't hear any of these voices or these smells.
Where did you get this?
Then a crevasse, deep in Red Talon territory.
Red Claw and I came across it when I found her when she was injured in that pit.
Captured
And
and
only now
tortured.
I'm seeing it.
I'm
You've been
sorry.
carrying it along all that time?
No, I somehow was led there when after dealing, there was stuff. He's like, we found it we grabbed the body last night.
One Fang was drawn towards it for some reason. After you had your spilling of grief. Apparently the spirits guided you there. And here we have it with us.
You were in Red Talon area, just a territory?
You see Michael's face kind of blushes. He's like, he's
Gonna
embarrassed.
raise an eyebrow.
I didn't know I was in there until Red Claw told me I was there. I just ran.
Well, you brought along something interesting. We should take it to the Penumbra and observe it. It speaks.
Well then, in
Red
that
Claw.
case, let's go in and see it.
Curious Mind will have a clearer knowledge on this than I would. As a player, I would consider it to be a good idea for Red Claw to pick it up and take it with us into the Penumbra, because she seems to be unaffected by it, or at least it has no. It doesn't seem to communicate with her very directly, but that could mean that she's just oblivious to it, and it actually has a lot of power, can get a lot of power over her, or it means the opposite.
Do you mean like you would want to make some kind of a detection roll or something, or
Well, I'm Curious Mind and me as well, of course, is doubting who should bring this thing into the Penumbra, because just like the pendant, she doesn't really feel comfortable touching it directly, and she's just debating on how we're going to get it into the Penumbra without anybody touching it.
well, most likely, touching it, you know that Red Claw has been touching it for sure because she brought it here, and most likely One Fang has touched it as well. And it's, of course, there is the concern over it, but I can't disclose whether it's harmful or not to touch it. You could take a stick and like bring it, or have Red Claw, since she's already touched it, bring it or something. But it's most likely that you will have to touch it when you investigate it. Anyway.
All right. Can we use indeed a stick or maybe a pot or something where we put it in?
Yeah, sure.
All right. We'll grab a large pot and we'll kind of use something else to kind of scoop it in there.
What are you doing, Curious Mind? I just cleaned those pots.
It's best not to touch it. We should bring it to the Penumbra.
Well, we've been carrying it all this time.
It's been wrapped in the cloth. Unless the cloth itself is tainted, you believe.
At this point, I don't know, but I don't want you to take any chances.
One Fang grabs the pot from your hand, walks over to the stove, grabs one of the metal pokers that are there, and he picks it up with that. He's like, Agnes will never forgive you if you destroy her pot.
Yeah, never use that for cooking after this.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the dead guy's bones are in. Oh no, where's?
Yeah. What did you do? Well, we put the dead guy's bones in here and then made stew. Woo!
We ate it. Yeah.
Well, there's no problems scooping it up there. With the sack of cloth there. It's easy to just grab it and just put it into the pot.
All right. Are you coming along, everyone?
Of course.
Red bitch is there with you as well, and she's of course coming. She just has been more spectator for the last few minutes because she's completely oblivious to all these things that you guys seem to be very keen on and knowledgeable about. So yeah, everybody leaves the house and is about to enter the penumbra in the backyard. Right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, the experience of entering the penumbra is, again, similar as before, but as you come to the other side, Curious Mind, being the one who carries it, immediately notices not only the smell, but you can see visually that from the pot there's smoke coming out of it.
Oh, I more or less, well, not more or less, I literally drop it and step out so that I'm not in the fume.
Okay.
And I
As
kind of
everybody,
make sure everybody else is out of the fume as well.
yeah, as everybody step through, you can see that Curious Mind just dumps the contents of the pot on the ground there, and the sack kind of, and it's not been tied into a knot or anything like that. It kind of, you just drop it out, it kind of wraps itself open, and what you see as it's open there is that it's indeed monk's robes that are crimson red, the same exact hue as the cover of the book in the monk priest's hands, and the skeleton that's wearing these garbs is completely charred black and is emitting smoke as if it was burned. And this is something that Red Claw and One Fang didn't see in the physical realm before. This is something new that the skeleton is smoking, and it's emitting horrible stench exactly like the one you remember from your dream. One Curious Mind.
Yeah, she's like, the smoke of man. She takes a few steps back and kind of closes her eyes and starts to concentrate on her breathing. And this is what the bear spoke of.
More prophecies of the bear coming to light? She stares down at it. This does not bode well.
We should warn the others.
Is there anything else we can learn from this thing?
My first idea is to cleanse it immediately, but there might be things we need to learn from it. I might be able to find out some things, but is this not something? She kind of looks a bit in doubt to the rest of her pack mates, which at least our pack leader or perhaps even the elder should be aware of.
Something you can destroy right now.
I could cleanse it like we did with the amulet, but by cleansing it, I might actually destroy or take away what information it holds.
It's evil, Curious Mind. Let's cleanse it now, before it hurts someone.
At that point, Red Bitch kind of cuts you off as you see that she has this expression of squinching her eyes as she's looking at it. It says, There's something inside its cloak.
Red Claw
Careful,
walks over and flips it up.
Okay, as 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 one as Curious Mind was not sure what to do and everything of that sort. Red Claw just walks right through it, and when you grab the cloak and you see inside it, you see that the whole interior of the cloak is like coated in tar and fur. The inside of the cloak is completely like that the fur of an animal, like a wolf or a bear or something, and it's completely covered in tar, which you as you kind of yank it, it kind of like from this skeleton rib cage that's smoking, and as you go do that, the skeleton all of a sudden reacts to it, and its hands all of a sudden, even though it's the individual bones are like in pieces and not attached to one another, its arms all of a sudden latch forward, and it grabs you by the wrists, and the skull starts to have flames on it that emit this black smoke, and the head just cranks forward, and out of its like clamped open mouth, you without its jaw moving, you hear this like thunderous croaking, the same sort of croaking that you hear all these hisses and all that from. You hear from its mouth, "A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yea, and nothing shall escape them." And it explodes into dust, and just with this cloak just as like a wet cloth just into this slimy beneath your feet there.
Just so I'm not just standing there with a finger up my well, whatever. As she's grabbing it, and this skull is starting to flame up and things. Curious Mind will want to kind of like jump at her and kind of grab her and kind of pull her away from all of this.
Very good. As you do so, it's completely like in a vice grip. You can't, for the life of you, yank it off. And as you do so, as the skull is letting out this this sermon, as it was first on Red Claw's face, locking eye holes with her eyes. It then turns, and halfway during this speech, it's looking straight into your eyes, Curious Mind, and finally its head, before dusting into complete like smoke and dust, it kind of leans on its side so that its eye holes looks straight into One Fang's eyes, and then the happens after it's said its last word.
Red Claw
to the ground.
Yeah, Red Claw stands there with her hands clenched as the bones, I'm guessing now, just kind of fall right off, and she kind of just looks down. What was that about? Is it gone now?
Sorry to interrupt, but you hear also this kind of gathering thunder seems to sound in the penumbra as well, and you start to One Fang. I'll let you continue on before I continue on mine.
Yeah, one thing reaches out with a massive arm, since he immediately just started transforming into Krino's form. He's kind of like reaching out in front of the, between Red Claw and Curious Mind, sort of just kind of pushing them back. Weird. That's almost coming to my house. That was weird. Anyways, and as he pushes them back, he's like, "Step back. What is it? Is it gone?"
You saw the dust just kind of evaporate into the wind, just kind of. It doesn't like leave a dust cloud flying in the sky. It kind of just evaporates into nothing, and
Oh,
the smoke with it.
I thought there was like
But
some
the
liquid
cloak is still there.
Okay, the cloak is there.
But the cloak became this kind of wet rag kind of thing. It feels a lot lighter than before, and it feels like it's if you let it fall, it just like it feels kind of actually like you would imagine somebody's skin being flayed off of them. It kind of feels like this ugh, all of a sudden as after he evaporated off. Even though it's cloth, but it still feels that kind of way.
Yeah.
Icky.
It's gone.
It's destroyed.
Yes.
it seemed like all it wanted to do was deliver that macabre message. What does that mean? It sounded just like the sermons of those. It sounds like a sermon of a church.
And one fan would have recognized that as being from the Bible, where it talks about locusts coming with the end times and all that.
End times, yes. Yeah. It's from the Bible. Verses on the end of times.
Oh, I see. That's right. Their apocalypse of sorts? Do the clouds, real quick, do the clouds in the Penumbra have like a spiritual quality to them?
You don't actually see any thunder clouds, you only hear the sound.
Oh, okay. With that, she kind of starts looking around. We should head back.
Is
anyone
anyone holding the cloak? Like, or is it on the ground?
I think one Red Claw is still holding on to it.
Drop that Red Claw.
Yeah, she kind of just like she drops it. She kind of stopped dropping it, stopped holding it the second like the skeleton has like the guy.
Yeah, it's like a
She kind of has this very disappointed look on her face, as if she was kind of wanting more. She kind of looks over at you, One Fang and Curious Mind and Red Bitch, and she goes, "Too bad it didn't attack me. I was kind of wanting to destroy something." Kind of kicks up dirt at it.
But One Fang nods at her as obviously he was ready to fight anything that was here too, and then kind of looks over at Curious Mind. Curious Mind, is there a way to destroy this? Is it gone? Is there essence left? Like with the locket.
Curious Mind is just kind of staring at the sky and
You hear a loud snap as a giant finger is like,
what?
Curious Mind. Is it safe? Is the essence gone from the cloak? Should we burn it?
I look at it, try to examine it for a moment.
Okay, as you examine it, since there's no time constraints or anything, you don't even have to make a roll. As you examine it, it feels almost like whatever vile, death-ridden essence was in it has departed of it. It looks like it's like disgusting remains of something that was evil and has gone off.
You know what it reminds me of? The fur of a beast turned inside out. It's like the red is from the muscles and the skin, the inside of the skin. I've seen it 1,000 times in the Umbra I was in. We might have awakened something. Thunder here is never a good sign. We need to see if anything's going on in the real world. It might have its reflection there, and then we should definitely inform at least Oxpear and perhaps speak to the elders.
Of course.
Can we move through the Umbra to get farther from my home?
Well, we need to first see if your home is not in danger. It might have its reflection in the physical world. I kind of walk over to Red Claw, and I kind of put a hand on her shoulder, kind of to the side of her arm, and say, "Red Claw, please, in the future, don't act so rash when it comes to these things. There's no telling what you could have done, what could have happened to you." She kind of hugs you.
It is all right. I'm sorry. I like to get things over with quickly. I will be careful in the future, but truth be told, I was kind of wanting it to do something towards me. I was relishing the chance to fight something, to crush its skull in, but alas, it was nothing but some sort of death prophet of sorts.
Kind of letting loose of her embrace with you, and kind of as she first looks into your eyes, because I'm assuming you're a bit bigger than she is, but then she kind of turns her head towards where the thunder is coming from and say, "Well, I wouldn't be surprised if you'll get your wish soon enough."
And then you see a very strange smile wash over her face as the welcome of combat entices her so. I welcomed such a challenge, my sister.
And somewhere across the province of Skåne, somewhere along the lines of the city of Lund, close its coastal regions, where a ship is standing in bay, a rider riding a familiar horse from a peculiar fishing town rides to it and delivers a foreboding message, and that is where we end. And that's where I'll stop the broadcast as well.
Enter Inception theme. Bwom,
For sure.
bwom, bwom.